Touchdown. Day one of our adventure. We'd planned to get in as much filming as we could right out of the gate, as we had lots to do, and our trip was only less than a week long. I knew if we didn't get to work right away, we'd risk not getting the footage that we needed. But then, less than an hour and a half after landing in Calgary, Kevin, our producer and camera-shy camera guy, decides we should go climb a mountain. Faced with a ticking clock and a jam-packed shooting schedule, we did what only sane professional filmmakers would choose to do in the same situation. Forget this. I'm KD Mack of the Documentary Guys. Welcome to Banff, Alberta. There's something to be said for driving on an open road in a car full of your closest friends. When we all agreed to take this trip together, two of our group had never even been to Alberta. I knew they were going to leave this place changed men, as long as we remembered that we were responsible adults and didn't do anything too stupid. Naturalist and author John Muir said thousands of tired, nerve-shaken, over-civilized people are beginning to find out that going to the mountains is going home, that wilderness is a necessity. And by the way, I wasn't kidding when Kevin suggested we climb a mountain.
It's a great idea, he said. It'll only take a few hours, he said.
The highest of the world's mountains, it seems, has to make but a single gesture of magnificence, to be the lord of all vast and unchallenged and isolated supremacy. George Mallory. Of course, he wasn't talking about this mountain, he was talking about Everest. We're over 8,000 feet above sea level, looking down at Banff, Alberta, Canada, nestled deep in the lofty and impassable mountains of one of Canada's most awe-inspiring national parks. The resort town of Banff is home to only 8,000 residents, and that doesn't include the large variety of wildlife, like elk, grizzly bears, and my friend right here. In 1883, 3 Canadian Pacific Railway workers were laying down track near here, happened to discover a series of hot springs on the side of this abruptly steep, precipitous mountain. It didn't take long to figure out how to profit from this discovery while simultaneously bringing much needed attention to the new railway system. The area was shortly after promoted as an international resort and spa. In 1886, Canadian geologist George Dawson called this Terrace Mountain. It was renamed 30 years later to what we now know it as today as Sulphur Mountain.
I'm a runner. I love to get out there and just go. It's not a race. It's not a time limit. It's just me transitioning into a different mindset, leaving behind the troubles of the world, if only for a short time.
There are no flat surfaces here. Unquestionably, we are living in unprecedented times, and COVID-19 has had a profound effect on all of us. We've closed our businesses, we've stopped visiting loved ones, we've pulled our children out of school and taken refuge inside our homes, waiting for all of this to blow over. We've put our faith in science in the hopes that it will see us through. In the beginning, COVID-19 terrified me. But what little was known of the disease in the beginning engendered confusion and fear. And as humans, it's in our nature to fear what we don't understand. But as time passed, more and more was learned about COVID-19, I felt better. But like most things in life, our perception plays a crucial role in how we respond to any given situation. We resort to a fight or flight response. And what gets us through, again, depends on our point of view. Personally, all I need is a place like this. Center my clarity and reset myself. To facilitate the healing process, we need to rely on our survival instincts. We simply need to emerge from our cave and embrace what Mother Nature has so kindly provided us. Over the past decade, Alberta's oil industry has attracted over $100 billion in investment. But the provincial government doesn't carry all their eggs in one basket. They've looked to tourism for that added boost to their economy. And Banff National Park, getting about 4 million visitors each year, gives them that boost, generating $2.7 billion in revenue for the province of Alberta. That's $7.5 million a day. Of course, these figures don't take into account the fact that we're now, as we film this episode, well over a year into the COVID-19 pandemic. Businesses, families, even wildlife have all been affected by a disease that has put millions in hospital and caused many to work from home or lose their jobs entirely. How has COVID-19 affected one of Canada's #1 tourist destinations? Let's find out.
It's obvious when we filmed this episode that COVID-19 had shown its influence on the town. When we rolled in, we couldn't help but notice the lack of vehicular and pedestrian traffic. But it was far from a ghost town, and soon, with many restaurants and shops open for business, even at limited capacity, we felt at home. And as they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
When you really want to know what's going on, you've got to go all the way to the top. And I don't mean Mount Norquay. I'm talking about the top person in authority, and that's the mayor of the town of Banff, Karen Sorensen. Thank you, Karen, for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Delighted to be here.
On this beautiful, rainy, sunny, rainbowy day.
Yes, we have a rainbow sitting over Banff. That's the way we like to live here.
I know.
We are the end of the rainbow.
Excellent. It's very postcardish. I know this is an odd question to ask the mayor of one of Canada's most visited tourist destinations, but are you still making cookies?
Thank you for asking. I do make cookies occasionally for my family, but I only make 700 cookies once a year.
There you go.
Which is for our staff.
And I'll explain all of that a little later, but I thought that was a great tradition. I saw an article, and it just
CBC
was like...
covered it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it was wow.
Which is great.
With news of COVID really gaining momentum, in 2020, kids were being pulled out of schools, businesses were being closed down, people were told to stay in their homes. What was your immediate reaction to what was going on in the world?
I think we were all a little dumbfounded and quite confused. We were in a situation that was completely out of our control, and we didn't exactly know what was happening or how it was going to impact us. We definitely knew it was bad, and that, of course, was the outcome. We are a tourism-based community. Tourism is our only economy, and of course, quite quickly, businesses got completely shut down. We only had essential services operating in our town, which for our small community we needed, and therefore we were sitting in a completely empty tourist destination, and it was quite devastating. We also lost a lot of our residents because their own countries were calling them home. And we have international people who work here year-round, but a lot of Australians, a lot of people from New Zealand, and their countries, of course, were calling them home. So we don't actually know what our population currently is. We don't know how many people left. So it was scary, and very quickly a task force came together, which is Parks Canada, Banff Lake Louise Tourism, Banff Lake Louise Hospitality Association, and the town of Banff, and we started to work on the immediate need, which was safety first.
Okay. Well, I think that kind of answers my next question, because I was going to ask you how the town of Banff had to evolve in order to rise, up to this challenge, this unexpected, unprecedented challenge against everyone. I mean, it's happening all over the world, and I think you've just explained that.
Yeah, absolutely. But we put a lot of things in play. I say safety first and looking after our residents. We very quickly, I give a shout out to our business community. Most of our staff here live in staff accommodation, which is congregate housing. But those employers very quickly made sure that people were housed appropriately, fed them, and we set up huge support services through the town to make sure not only that people were food and housed and safe, but also understood the support services that were coming into place. Everybody was laid off, and so understanding all of those federal support services, and we have a lot of people who are foreign speaking here, so we had to really work with everybody and make sure they understood how they could be supported in every way.
Now there are around 4 million visitors to the park every year, and now that COVID has happened, if you could get a message out to all these people that may be hesitant to come to Banff, what would you tell them?
We're delighted to say that the Rocky Mountains are still standing, and so are we, and we are Canada's gem of a destination from my perspective. I might be a little biased, but we really encourage people to come back and visit us and see the Canadian Rockies and experience exactly what I think people need right now, which is outdoors, someplace to get fresh air and hike and bike and ski or whatever your sport of choice is. So we encourage people to come back and see us. We'd love to see you here.
Excellent. And that is the Banff Effect. Thank you, Karen, for having us today. Thanks for speaking with us. I really appreciate it. All the best to you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure, and thanks so much for being here.
On the surface, you wouldn't think we're smack dab in the middle of a pandemic. Businesses are operating as best they can, perhaps with a few adjustments to the regular way of doing things. But all in all, Banff is still the Banff I remember from my childhood in my early 20s when I was enrolled in Alberta University of the Arts in Calgary, an hour and a half east of here. Back then it was known as the Alberta College of Art, but I can say with minimal exaggeration that I probably spent more time here in Banff than I did focusing on my studies. To get another perspective on how COVID-19 has affected tourism here, let's speak with Banff Tourism's Director of Media and Communications, Angela Anderson. Angela, thank you so much for meeting with us today and having a chat.
Very glad to be here.
What's it like in your role in Banff Tourism during all that's happened, all that's going on right now? What's it like for you?
Oh my gosh, it's been pretty wild. We're used to promoting this destination and bringing people from all over the world here. And during this last little bit, we haven't been able to do that. Yeah. And so our role has definitely changed in the last little bit to, focusing on supporting our members, which are businesses in the town of Banff and outside in Lake Louise, and really just helping them get through this time. So we've taken more of a focus on government advocacy, trying to get them supports that they need, right, as well as however we can have people support them locally. And, the Bow Valley community isn't huge, but very tight-knit. Everybody wants to support businesses how they can. So we've shifted to definitely focus more locally. Right. And then as well, the regional audience of Calgary, we're able to still bring them here depending on what time it was. Right.
I've read that visitation was down 15% in 2020 over 2019 stats. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me from your perspective how COVID-19 has affected visitation to the park? Are you still seeing those numbers move in either direction?
Yes. So it depends on what numbers you're looking at, because if you're looking at Parks Canada data, which they record the park gate data, which sounds like that is.
That's what that is, yeah.
That is every visitor to the park. So if you're coming, staying overnight, but also if you're coming on a tour, though there's not many tours lately, or just a day visitor. And so day visitation has stayed pretty high throughout this whole thing, just because people are so interested in getting out and hiking and doing all the outdoor things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is Banff going to look like when all of this is done? Is it going to be the same old Banff it was, or will it be a new Banff? What will it look like?
That's kind of a question of the day. I mean, the beautiful thing about this place is we're in a national park. Nothing has changed. There haven't been major changes. Even if you look at new hotels or infrastructure, there's not a lot of development going on because we're in a national park. It's being preserved. And that's actually the beautiful thing about it. Nature will be here. All of these trails, the ski hills, all of the things that people love to do when they come here are not going away.
I know, working in Banff Tourism, you know how Banff got its name. Canadian Pacific Railway President George Stephen, in 1884, named the town after his birthplace outside of Banff, Scotland. But I always felt that if I lived back then, it would have been named after me. Because if you'd ever seen me ski, going downhill when my skis cross, I'm just like, Banff, right into the ground, my face. I'm sorry, leaving on a low note. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Angela. I really appreciate you taking your time to chat with us today.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thanks. You. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there.
That's a great dad joke.
COVID-19 is what it is. It doesn't portend the apocalypse. It's a disease that we're learning more and more about each day. And as an incurable optimist, I'm confident we'll move beyond it. Now, we didn't want to make our first episode of the documentary guys all doom and gloom. We didn't come here to pull the Band-Aid from the wound left by COVID-19. And honestly, from what we've seen during this trip, the wound doesn't run deep at all. It's hard to feel down for long when you're surrounded by this rugged and mind-blowingly picturesque climate. Banff is arguably the brightest and most remarkable of Canadian towns that seems to have its own healing effect on the dispirited. Intensely wild and magnificent, colossally permanent, sacredly peaceful, and even uncompromisingly perpendicular. However you want to describe it, Banff is a place you must experience for yourself. It's a perfect reminder that there are still good things left in the world. But let's put COVID behind us for a while, shall we? And just take in the magnificence of this place.
Magnificence like the incredible Bow River, one of the natural lifelines of Banff National Park. But it doesn't start here.
It starts right here at Bow Lake. It's fed by the Bow Glacier and stretches all the way just west of Medicine Hat, where it meets the Old Man River, and the two become the South Saskatchewan River. Ultimately, though, these waters pass all the way through to Hudson Bay.
We could have made this episode several hours in length, and still only have described 1/8 of Banff's beauty. We could have come in the middle of summer, when everyone else does, but we opted for spring, when the land prepares to shed its heavy coat of ice and snow. The long and winding roads of Banff National Park were open and unimpeded by traffic, and in fact, we took advantage of this. Nothing like stopping for a photo shoot in the middle of the Trans-Canada Highway. I mean, what could happen, right? And you're never far away from something spectacularly photo-worthy.
Located just a few minutes south of Lake Louise, Moran's Curve is a definite must for visiting photographers. You just have to have a little patience.
And so comes the end of our journey, at least for this episode. This brief adventure not only renewed our faith that we can overcome whatever challenges life chooses to set in our path, but it also helped us once again to find balance between what's important now and what we desire in the days ahead. We're recharged, recentered, and ready to face the unknown once more. And you know, I'm so thankful that I had a chance to travel back in time to revisit a place that was responsible, in part anyway, for shaping the person I've become. This place is a testament to the human spirit and a reminder that we should never forget the inseparable bond we have with nature. And that, my friends, is the Banff effect.
Welcome to Banff, Alberta. And that's it, that's the whole show right there.
Documentary guys, roll A, scene 10, take 1. Documentary guys, roll A, scene 10, take 2. Documentary guys, roll A, scene 10, take 3. Take 4. Take 5. Take 6.
It starts right here at Bow Lake. It's fed by the Bow Glacier and stretches all the way out to... Sorry. It's fed by the Bow Glacier and stretches all the way just west of Medicine Hat, where it meets the old...
Yeah, and I'm talking to the camera like this, not like that. Even okay, turn. Nope, start turning towards me a little bit. There. Really? That's right there. I'm not looking straight.
The highest of the world's mountains, it seems, has to make but a single gesture of magnificence. To be the Lord of all, vast and unchallenged and isolated. How's COVID-19 affected? How's COVID-19 affected one of Canada's #1 tourist destinations? Let's find out.
Okay,
Oh, that's good right there.
Okay, go ahead, get in the vehicle. Okay, let's get in the vehicle. All right.
And just take in the magnificence of this place.
you want to get that?